In this episode, Golden and I discuss Shadow and Bone, Season 1. Full speed ahead.
The Omega Beam. Full power. The Omega Beam.
Welcome to the Omega Beam number 140. I'm your host, Oren Merton. Shadow and Bone is a new urban fantasy series streaming on Netflix, and Season 1 did so well, both with audiences and critics, that it has been greenlit for Season 2. Now, we hadn't read the book series that it's based on, but it looked interesting from the trailers, so we gave it a watch. Let's get to it.
I'm Golden, and I'm here with Oren to talk about Shadow and Bone, Season 1.
Streaming on Netflix.
Streaming on Netflix. Yes. So what did you think? Since you were kind of hesitant after the first episode, like, maybe, I don't know.
I think it kind of struck me the way that I felt about Season 1 of The Umbrella Academy, which is ultimately, I came to enjoy it. But I tend to get sucked into television shows based on how much I love the characters. And I immediately loved the look and feel of Shadow and Bone. And I loved the fact that it was set in a more fantasy Slavic environment as opposed to the more common fantasy Western European environment. In a way, this was kind of the Eastern analog to the Amazon show Carnival Row, which was sort of a Victorian England with magic. And
I think we see Victorian England more often.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. And so I enjoyed seeing a more Slavic world with magic. And I enjoyed the plot. I thought the story was engaging, but I didn't immediately care about the characters. So that kind of keeps you at arm's length when sort of the main characters, you don't actually have any investment if they live or die. Now, by the end of it, I definitely felt an investment in Alina Starkov, the orphan, and her orphan friend, Mal. I definitely felt invested in them. I did feel invested in the woman who was part of the Crows.
Inej.
Inej. I definitely felt invested in her because I felt she had a little bit more...
She's a very interesting character.
Yeah, she had a bit more meat and personality. So by the end, I cared about the leads. I enjoy watching Ben Barnes, who I sort of fell in love with in The Punisher. And I enjoy watching him, but I can't say that his character was somebody I either loved or loved to hate. It just...
I think like with Kaz, we really didn't ever get to know him.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that he's emotionally invested in Inej. There will be some light spoilers.
Okay, light spoilers. All good.
You know that he's emotionally invested in Inej, but we don't really know why he has the cane.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll find that out in Season 2, because there will be a Season 2, apparently.
There will be a Season 2, and I don't know how long the book series that this is based on is, so I don't know if there's a lot of books or it's just a trilogy or whatever, so I have no idea how much story is already written that they can pull from, or if it's a certain point they're going off on their own. But I did wonder as I was watching it with absolutely no knowledge of the book if I knew these characters from the book. I mean, theoretically you shouldn't have to. I mean, the show should be a self-contained piece of art, and you should care about the characters on screen, even if you haven't read the book. But I did wonder how much deeper the experience would have been had I known the book. But like I said, the plot was really interesting. I mean, just watching things unfold, I thought was interesting because, like most stories that grip me, it didn't go exactly where I thought it would go. And I appreciated that. And like I said, it is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, the production design, the CG, it's really beautiful. I mean, they spared no expense to kind of do this, I'm guessing, 18th century Slavic environment, because you had trains and you had rifles, but you also basically had no other sort of technologies.
So there is a trilogy.
Trilogy,
and
okay.
it's considered from the Grishaverse.
The Grishaverse.
Which makes sense because those that have the magic are Grisha.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is a fourth book eventually coming out or if the trilogy wraps it up.
Yeah. So I was intrigued because I had heard people say good things, because it had a high Rotten Tomatoes, because it did get a second season. By the time we started watching, we knew it was already greenlit. And it was popular in the genre, so I figured, okay, you know what? Even if this isn't my favorite show, it's probably not going to steer me wrong. And I would stick by that. You know, I know I'm not being as effusive as I am about the things that I absolutely love right out of the gate, but it was something that I enjoyed watching.
It was beautifully done. I like the fact that they brought all the characters together, and even when you knew where the story was going to go, it was still enjoyable.
Yeah, and it's an interesting concept. The idea, this is in the trailer, so it's not a huge spoiler, but the idea of the fold, that there's this sort of magic barrier splitting their environment in half. I mean, that's an interesting story because it didn't just cause a physical obstruction for the protagonists to get past, but they also did go into sort of the political ramifications of what it would do when something like that has been around for so long, how political institutions would change and adapt, and what alliances would be either formed or strained or things like that. So in that sense, I think it made the story richer, and it did enjoy that aspect.
A lot of the cast aren't necessarily well-known actors and actresses, and you don't need them. I love Jesper. Jesper, I think he's a lot of them perfectly cast. I couldn't say that anyone necessarily stood out as not fitting the role.
Yeah, I think that also speaks to not just the success of, like you've heard this era called the golden age of television, but I think it speaks to both the success of really well done sequential dramas on television, and I think it speaks well to the mainstreaming and reputation of genre, that very good actors and actresses are willing to take roles in what 25 years ago would have been a pulp type of show that would only have attracted those kind of actors who exist in that little limited space. But yeah, I would agree. I think that everyone fit their part. I did enjoy Jessie Mai Lee, who played Alina Starkov. I thought she was really good. I thought Archie Renault, I think is how you pronounce his last name, as Mal, also was particularly engaging. And yeah, you mentioned Kit Young, who was Jesper, and I think Mita Suman, who played Inej, was also really engaging.
And yes, the looking at the trivia on IMDb, the author of the book did base the setting on early 19th century Russian Empire.
Okay, Russian Empire.
But
Yeah,
a lot of apparently Russian readers were not so happy about this.
Well, yeah. It was interesting too because a lot of times they will make up a language in science fiction or whatever.
There is a language that's, according to the trivia, she actually used someone who helped with the languages, Dothraki and that, for Game of Thrones.
Oh, so she made up a whole language
There
for
is
this.
an American language creator known for Game of Thrones, David J. Peterson, is behind the Grishaverse's fictional languages. So there are some
Interesting.
fictional languages in it. Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I enjoy the IMDb trivia. Apparently, there is a Kaz Brecker series duo of books as well. So you would find out more about Kaz. Remember I said I didn't think that there was a lot to be said of Kaz.
Sure.
Freddie Carter, Kaz, learned to do sleight of hand tricks for his role.
Okay.
But Kit Young, who played Jesper, researched cowboys and gunslingers and trained with guns to the point that the crew, I'm reading this from IMDb, found out during pre-production that several trick shots that were planned for CGI were actually stunts that Young could do himself.
Fantastic. It's always nice when actors take their roles seriously. They can pull that stuff off.
You could tell he felt very comfortable with those guns.
Oh, yeah. He definitely did. Yeah, I mean...
Not in a bad way, in a showmanship way.
Exactly, yeah. The part itself, like you said with some of the others, I mean, we don't get a lot of character depth out of him, but he was perfect for the role. You know, he really did embody that character fully.
Yeah, the other cute thing on IMDb is that Jessie May Lee mentioned in an interview that she had a crush on Ben Barnes when she was younger.
Aww.
From when he was in the Chronicles of Narnia films.
Yeah, he was. I really like him. I thought he was fantastic in The Punisher. He really gave Frank Castle / John Barenthal a real both nemesis and adversary that was worthy. I think that he did a fine acting job playing General Kerrigan, but like we've said, it's not that he himself as a character is maybe as sympathetic or defined. I mean, they try and give him some backstory, so we kind of know where he's coming from, but somehow...
Eventually.
Yeah, but somehow I just didn't fall for him. I mean, I fell for everyone. The ones I fell for slowly. There's 8 episodes in the season, and it took me at least half the season to really get into the characters, even though I had liked the story enough to keep watching.
There's some actors and actresses that apparently were... some actors that were on a BBC TV series, The Musketeers. There's a couple actresses, and I don't know, there might be more of the cast that have been on Doctor Who.
Oh, yes, of course.
So it's a beautiful series.
Yeah, it's really,
and
really
I don't
gorgeous.
think that it's something that has been done a lot. You have the magicians, you have the army, you have these warring places, subterfuge, people making promises and knowing whether or not they can actually fulfill those promises when they make them.
Yeah.
It is a really well done series, and I'm glad that they are continuing on to season 2.
Yeah, it definitely stands apart from a lot of the other genre programming out there, just because the environment is different, the story is different. I don't think it was particularly gory. There were a couple, moments I wasn't staring at the screen, but I didn't find it overly gory. It's not overly sexy or profane language-wise.
That's what I like about IMDb. If you have kids and you want to know if they can watch a movie, they have something called the Parent's Guide.
Uh-huh.
So... according to this, sex and nudity is mild, violence and gore is moderate, no profanity, mild drugs, alcohol, or smoking, and then the frightening and intense scenes are moderate.
Yeah.
And it will actually tell you where they are, which is nice.
So definitely, you might want to skim through an episode or two if you have younger kids, just to make sure it's not going to freak them out or anything, but...
it is dark.
Yeah. Yeah, so you might want to check it out, but this is a show that I think a family could watch it, and assuming the young ones are okay with it, it would be fine. As much as I loved The Witcher, Golden can attest that there were scenes I was not looking at the screen at all, and there's obviously some nudity and stuff like that too. So, but this one is not that. This one is much more for all ages, or at least for younger ages. So yeah, recommended. A good show. It may take you, if you respond to the characters it might take you a while to get into it, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah, if you just enjoy, if you're someone that plays D&D and you want to watch a really beautiful rogue, the Inej character is really spectacular.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's a show that you're going to watch more for, I think, the visuals at first and how beautifully stunning this world is.
Well, thank you, Golden.
You're welcome.
And that's it for this episode. You can find the show notes at theomegabeam.com/140. If you like this episode, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. It's reviews like that help people who like this stuff find our podcast. If you have any comments or suggestions, please drop us a line at info@theomegabeam.com. Be good to yourselves and each other, and we'll catch you next time.
The Omega Beam. Full stop.